Okay, hello, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA, today with Justin Van Heerden as he gets ready to defend his featherweight title, Eternal MMA 76 in Perth, 10th of June, fighting Rod Costa. How are you, bro?
Good, thank you, bro. Good. Always good. Always good when I'm in camp, always good when I got another fight lined up.
That's it, man. Man, you had a great 2022, had a few wins in the bag. What do you see 2023 shaping up to be for you?
Yeah, much of the same. Obviously, timeline-wise, a bit of a delay, obviously, with getting injured and then having to miss out in February, and then obviously not being able to put something together for the May card, and having to wait till June. Not the ideal sort of start timeline-wise, but want to sort of emulate the same thing. Be busy, get another try and get about four fights in for the year, because obviously that would have been, by now I would have fought in February, would have fought in May, probably potentially lining up to fight either June, July again, and then, try and get another one in before the year's out. So obviously, yeah, that's sort of the plan, defend my belt in June, start off my year, and then, just keep it rolling and keep it going, keep the same momentum, keep the same sort of busy schedule. Like, obviously, yeah, I prefer not to just sit around.
Man, your last fight you did very well. I was just watching it while I was waiting against Diego. You avenged your loss to him with a previous KO. Now you're coming up against adversity again. You're fighting someone that you suffered a defeat to again. How do you feel leading up to fighting Rod Costa?
Excited. Yeah, obviously, it'd be cool to get, it's cool that this fight's come together. It gives me an opportunity to sort of wipe that defeat off my record again, and then I'll have avenged my losses at featherweight. So, that side of it's cool. It's an opportunity to sort of get redemption, but more so, it's kind of it's sort of approaching it, like I'm fighting a fresh opponent, like I'm fighting this guy for the first time in a sense, because obviously if you look at the fight that we had and look at our past and trajectory since that fight, I think, we've both gone from strength to strength in a lot of ways. Obviously, I got the adversity in our last outing. He was able to sort of string some wins together. Then he went through some adversity when he fought Jack. And then obviously he's bounced back, gone on to win a bantamweight title, and, gone on a bit of a run there, and, looked heaps better and grown as a fighter, gone from strength to strength. And obviously I've done much of the same, as we spoke about earlier, So I think it's kind of cool. We're both coming into this fight on a bit of a tear, both coming in as champions. So that's exciting to me. I'm not stepping in there. I'm stepping in there with a sort of more developed and improved MMA fighter, so I'm excited for that sort of challenge and for that test, and to get that sort of chance of redemption.
Yeah, man, you mentioned like the evolution, like when you look at it, 2021 was your last fight, June, so it's under 2 years, man. When you think about it, it's not too long. You think about it in general terms. You can't change everything, but if you look at the volume of training you have, the training partners, the training assistants that come in to help with your camps and everything, you can actually learn a shitload more and change a lot of your game in 2 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest factor if you look at from when we first fought to you look at my year that I had in 2022, I had my coach with me for all those fights. That in 2021 it was a weird time. The boys were overseas, there was like the COVID stuff, there was filming Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that. So, last year, when my first fight of the year, that was the first fight where I actually had, my coaches. I had Joe with me in the corner, there to corner me and there through the process of the camp and all that sort of stuff. And, that immediately is a big boost and a big difference, So, and then like you said, fight to fight, the training partners, the training camps, the improvements are just going to happen in that short period of time, because you're in such a high talented room, both with training partners, but then also, the knowledge that I have from my coaches, from both Joe and Alex, it's just, it's sort of second to none. So am I surprised that I was able to develop as a fighter and make those improvements in such a short period of time? Because as you said, 2 years, when you look at it on paper, it's not a big sort of time frame, but it's I guess a given when you're just in a room like that and then doing the work and training and the activity, I guess, as well. I was fought 4 times inside like 10 months. The activity's there. So you're just constantly in a mode where you're like, okay, I got to compete. and then it was like reset, make improvements, compete again, reset, make improvements, and compete again, but very quickly back to back to back to back. So you're going to get the benefits out of that. So yeah, I feel like I've vastly evolved and changed as a fighter compared to our first outing. And I think, it just comes back to all of those factors playing together.
Man, this popped into my head. Like, obviously Rod Costa has the strongest, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu base, probably out of, some of the opponents you've had. And you've been training quite a lot. I just wondered, does it correlate with Volk trying to train like against the grappling-based fighter? Like when I went down and saw you guys, you had Craig Jones in there. There was a lot of grapplers around. That might have sort of helped to build up your grappling in the last probably year or so, right?
Yeah, obviously. Like if you're gonna be on the mats with people like that, you're gonna be forced to have to like level up and soak up what you can and make sort of improvements, and that's it. Like across the board, I'm fortunate enough that I'm being tested, in those areas, and then I'm blessed to be able to share the mats with some really talented grapplers, like you said. If we're talking like from just a pure grappling standpoint, there's some high level guys that I'm getting to work with and continue to get to work with, which is kind of cool. But that is true though. It's Rod's outside of, if I look at the people I fought, and then obviously now with Rod, it's like Rod and Rodolfo Marquez are the two highest level grapplers that you could find in this region. And then even with someone like Rodolfo Marquez, third degree black belt, very experienced. But Rod's, I guess, his grappling is a step above that as well again. So, so it is cool to have those, I guess, high level grapplers and stuff that you get to train with and, get to sort of put you in positions and, sort of troubleshoot things and work through it and improve. Because I think a lot of people, that's sort of a thing that I wouldn't say worried to do. It's just a thing that it's hard for people to embrace. Like embrace being the nail sometimes. Everyone wants to just be on, like, especially when you're getting ready for fights and stuff. I guess people just want to be the hammer all the time, and you kind of want to have the momentum go your way and dictate things. But you need to embrace all those things, man. You need to embrace the fact that you're getting to work with people who are going to put you in compromising positions, who are going to put you through your paces, and that's another factor as to why you're going to make improvements so quickly.
Yeah, man. Just as you mentioned that, it popped into my head when I dropped into your gym and saw Volk being put in very compromising positions under the guidance of Craig Jones, but with another guy just being on his back, flat on his back, full mount, trying to escape. Like, that's, like you said, that's what you need to do. You need to put yourself in that uncomfortable position. You're not always going to be the man, right?
No, 100%. And then that's another thing about that room inside freestyle. Like, when I compare that to my previous gym and then coming to freestyle, like, man, I'm the little fish in that pond, bro. So I'm just getting put through the ringer, and that's the cool part. Like, I'm not like, it's not like I'm plateauing out and I'm just going in there just having my way with people. Like, that's, and even if you were in a position like that, you're not making improvements, because how are you going to improve? You're never being put in compromising positions. You're never having to make adjustments. If everything's just going your way, you're just going to hit a brick wall. You're not going to find those reasons to improve. You're not going to make those adjustments. So that is another thing that I'm sort of relishing in with being in that room at freestyle. Like, there's such a high level of sort of opponent, in a sense, when when you're doing these grappling sessions and you're doing these wrestling sessions and you're doing these sparring sessions, like, it's just, and then on top of that, then you're sort of, you're breaking it down in such a level of detail that when you are going live, you're not just experiencing things or putting things putting things together just willy-nilly. You're recognizing, okay, this is why this is working, this is why it isn't working, what do I need to adjust? And you're only going to get that when you're in a room with people that are much, much, much better than you.
Yeah, man. Hey, in your last fight, obviously, your game is heavy grappling oriented as well, versus Rod, who's also that base grappler, but you guys chose to have a stand-up affair. I got to imagine that the fight could or couldn't be very different. Like, it could be the same, but it could really encompass everything, right? You guys could have a battle in the grappling realm this time. Like, who knows? That's what kind of makes it an exciting fight,
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, that's another thing, sort of the last fight too. Like, obviously I know that Rod's, quite going into that fight, like knew Rod was quite talented when it comes to that sort of thing. But even then, I think I was like going into that fight and I was in my mind going like, oh, no, I can't engage in the grappling with this guy at all. But it's not a jiu-jitsu match. It's I'm sure if Rod and I were in a jiu-jitsu sub-only no time limit match, it's going to be a bit of a battle. Like the dude's very, very good. But there's so many factors. Like we got, now with it's MMA, we got to worry about wrestling, we got to worry about punches, we got to worry about kicks. Like there's all these things that are factored in, and I think that's sort of a big difference. Like I'm well aware that this time round, we're going to be engaging in some positional sort of battles, whether it be in the grappling, the wrestling, the striking, the clinch. Like it's going to be, I think it's going to be a mixed martial arts fight and a highly technical mixed martial arts fight because, as I've said, like he's made some tremendous improvements. You look at his game, you can't just think that you're fighting a guy who's only got jiu-jitsu. Like he's shown his durability. I'd honestly, when I look at Rod, his biggest, I guess, weapon or skill that stands out to me or something that he has that makes him sort of really, really dangerous is his resilience and his tenacity. Like, that guy's got no quit in him. And, it can be a detriment when things aren't going your way because, your toughness is the only thing that's sort of pushing you on. But when, the momentum shift is going your way, and you saw that with his last couple of fights, when the momentum's going his way and the fact that dude's got no quit in him and no desire to stop at any point, it's a problem. And he's going to make him super dangerous. So, I think that's sort of something that makes it an interesting fight again because he's got no quit in him. So, I'm going to have to make sure that I capitalize on the things that are presented to me. And I'm going to have to either shut his lights out or break an arm, snatch a neck, do something and put this dude out because he's not going to quit. I'm not going to get a position on this guy or land a punch on him or do something like that, and he's just going to quit. It's going to I know that I have to put this guy away.
Yeah, man. Like you mentioned, just thinking about that fight against Sean Etchell, like Sean Etchell was landing some bombs in there. Same when he fought Jack Jenkins, he lasted, but he was getting his leg taken apart and lots of jabs and that, getting smashed along the cage. Yeah, definitely, I'd say I agree. Resilience, he's very, very fucking resilient, man. What do you see as your sort of strengths that would overcome him a little bit, if you're looking, for different areas of skill set? I'd say you're a bit more of a wrestler, right? Like you have more wrestling base than he does. He seems to be a bit more stand-up and BJJ. You seem to be more stand-up wrestling to submissions,
Yeah. I'd say my sort of thing would be that my wrestling is obviously a big tool of mine that I obviously like to use. It's a big weapon that I have, but I think my MMA grappling is going to be a big factor in this fight. Obviously, Rod, like we touched on, his grappling is ridiculously good. But, I think my MMA grappling is very, very good in its own right and has, holds up with just about anyone else in a sort of MMA capacity because, it's a bit different. Like it's a different sort of style, different sort of pace than just straight jiu-jitsu. But obviously, I think my biggest sort of factor of success going into this fight would be, and like my last couple of fights, if you look at my last few fights, especially last year, is just my ability to capitalize on things. Like if there's an opening or there's an opportunity for me to snatch the fight or capitalize on something, I think that's going to happen. And I think that's a big factor that separates the two of us. Like he's obviously dangerous all the time. And even like you said, with those fights that he had, like that fight with Sean Etchell, was in a compromised position, sort of taking a bit of damage. There was that one bit of opening, one bit of sort of distance mismanagement from Etchell. He got a hold of him, took him down, took the back, snatched the neck, put him away. He's I think that's sort of a factor that makes the fight exciting. But I think my ability to sort of force that, capitalize on that at any point, whether it's in the feet, whether it's in the wrestling, whether it's in the grappling, whether I'm on my back, whether I'm on top, I think that's what's going to separate us in the fight. So I'm looking forward to seeing how I can capitalize on those mistakes that he's ultimately going to be forced to make.
Yeah, man. Man, talking about this fight, it's pretty high stakes, right? Like, you're both at the top sort of end of the division, leading the guys in Australia. Like, what does this mean, this fight? A win in this, what does it kind of mean to you? Does it mean that you'll get into like a higher organisation, or at least have a chance to do that?
Yeah, I think it continues to, this fight, okay, if I go out there, win, get a finish, that's going to, continue to separate me from everyone else, which is something I'm obviously so focused on and big about, and making myself completely undeniable, so if I look at my year last year, that's what separated me from everyone else then. That's what led me to fighting for the title. That's what led me to win the title. So I guess that's sort of just going to amplify that. I already consider myself to be the number one featherweight in the region, and I've fought so many of the top dudes and beat them. So fighting someone like Rod, who's a champion in his own right, coming up from bantamweight, it's just going to allow me to continue to separate that. But in terms of the risk factor of the fight, the only one taking any risk for this fight is me. There's no risk from his part at all. He's coming up from bantamweight. If things don't work out for him, he's still the bantamweight champion, can go down, defend his belt, string together a couple of defenses. He's still at the top of that division. So, you're still arguably in a pretty good spot. Whereas I'm putting everything on the line. I'm putting my belt on the line, my win streak on the line, all my momentum, everything. Like, this is, I'm not looking past this in any way. Like, this is the biggest fight of my career so far, and I'm planning on capitalizing on the moment, capitalizing on all that, and continuing to win. Like, I'm putting everything on the line, and that's how I like it. I spoke about that all last year. It's high stakes, high reward, and that's what's going to bring out the best in me.
Man, that's what makes it a very exciting fight to watch as well, and I'll definitely be tuning in, man. So finally, your featherweight championship, Eternal MMA 76 on Perth, 10th of June, defending your title, man. Do you have any final prediction for yourself?
Honestly, I think there's this. I don't see this fight going to the judges. I think we're both too dangerous. I think we're both too skilled. We both capitalize on mistakes very, 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 very well. So I don't see this fight going the distance, and I think I'll get the finish inside 4.
Nice, bro. I'll definitely be tuning in, bro. I can't wait to see this fight. Both of you guys have given me some time, so appreciate that. Best of luck with your final training. Best of luck with the fight, man, and I'll definitely be watching.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Thanks, bro.